Hi, I'm Jenny Jewell, a retired emergency dispatcher, and we are hanging out in the break room. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and a snack. And we're going to watch a news story from last year, from 2023, that's relevant to a conversation that I was having in the comments with a fellow professional. And looks like it's still on the rise and ongoing with this problem. So let's go ahead and bring some awareness and hopefully help you from accidentally dialing 911 with your phone. So let's go ahead and get this going here.
A surge in 911 calls across the United States and even parts of Europe. And new tonight, News 6 has learned it's happening in 911 call centers right here in Central Florida.
Calls increased by double digits in some areas, and all new at 6. News 6 investigator Lewis Bolden is digging into what is behind this spike. Lewis?
Well, you guys, 2 local sheriff's departments tell us they have seen a dramatic increase in calls. According to the National Emergency Number Association, also known as NENA, this spike is from people accidentally calling 911 because of a feature on certain cell phones. The Flagler County Sheriff's Office says your calls are not going unanswered, but this issue is putting stress on its resources.
Flagler County Sheriff's Office dispatch, Josie, can I help you?
The Flagler County Communications Center answers hundreds of calls per day, but an increasing number of 911 calls have no one on the line.
We saw about a 35% of all of our 911 calls have been people just accidentally calling and hanging up.
Christina Mortimer is the Director of Communications and says she noticed the spike starting in June. What did that do to your staff, having a spike like that?
It definitely put a burden on them.
Every 911 hang-up or misdial is classified as a 911 investigation. This is 1 month of those calls. News 6 has learned in June of 2022, the Flagler County Communications Center had 1,140 hangups or misdials. In June of this year, that number jumped to 2,049, nearly doubled.
It required our dispatchers to have to answer about 1,000 more calls a month that ended up just being accidental.
It's a similar situation in Orange County. In this letter shared with News 6 from the undersheriff to the county's 911 coordinator, dispatchers received about 50% more 911 calls this June compared to June of last year. According to NENA, the 911 Association, a major factor in this spike is related to recent interface updates to certain Android phones. Androids have a feature that if you rapidly press the power button 5 times, it calls 911.
You could hit that button 5 times easy.
Barbara Moore owns an Android.
What if they're just hitting it with their hip or something and butt dialing? That's the main deal right there.
Kyla Davis has an Android too.
I mean, well, I could see it. If I have my phone in my pocket and it's just moving around, it puts the keypad on.
There are many ways it can happen, but here's the problem. In Flagler County, even if it's an accident, their policy requires them to send first responders. Well, these accidental calls can really sort of stress the system in terms of resources being tied up.
Absolutely, because we do have to send law enforcement to all the calls, so that's somebody that could be responding to another actual real emergency happening.
Androids now have an updated operating system to correct the problem. You can go to Settings, then Safety and Emergency, then Emergency SOS. There is a countdown button. Now there's an option to turn the feature off. If you leave it on, now there's a 10-second countdown and an alarm sounds in the last few seconds to alert you it's calling 911. Now, we reached out to Google about this issue, but did not get a response back. We also contacted other sheriff's departments in our area to see if they're having the same problem. We will update this story with their responses on clickorlando.com. So you guys, this is really tying up.
Yeah, it's an interesting issue I hadn't heard about. So, Lewis, what happens? You look at your phone, and I've caught it a few times trying to call 911.
It says emergency call.
Yeah, but you accidentally called 911, so what do you do?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that because they're trying to get the word out about that. Do not hang up.
Oh.
Simply stay on the phone and say, this
I'm
is an
sorry.
I'm not being kidnapped.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so but they say, because the operators have to call you back. If no one is on the line, they have to call you back. And they say the time they're spending calling you back, they could be responding to other calls.
Makes sense.
Lewis, thank you.
No problem.
Important information.
Accurate. Very accurate. I'm glad that they're addressing it by doing updates and things. It's a great feature for somebody who needs it. You know, like just say you're in an emergency, go clickety click click click, you know, and get somebody on the line. But if just say you're accidentally hitting it, now it should, if you check those settings and set it up like that, it should warn you. If you don't see the settings that they're showing, you might have an older phone or you might have a phone that hasn't been updated, so check your updates. But yeah, it's a real stress on the system, guys. So, you know, accidental 911 calls, they all get followed up on. So unless you want to get a knock on the door or a visit from your local sheriff's department, if that's an area that has to do it, I'm in an area that has to do a dispatch for every call. It kind of taxes the system. Just kind of, like a lot. But with that, guys, hopefully this was helpful. Please take care. Stay safe. Don't be naughty. Till next time. Bye-bye.